It's coming up to 8 AM. I've just got an early morning train from my hometown of Bath to Bridgwater. Love the Art Deco style of the station. I'm riding a 67-mile circuit on my bike around the southwest edge of Somerset. I'll be visiting 5 ancient Churches Conservation Trust properties. 4.5 really, because one of them is ruined, and the remains of the tower are there, right on the edge of Exmoor. So before that, I'll be leaving Bridgwater that way, doing this big circuit up towards the coast, crossing the Quantocks, heading over to the edge of Exmoor, and then coming back via Taunton. And in about 10 hours time, I'll be returning that way. It's coming up. That's the GPS locked on. St John Street cycles over there, the birthplace of this beast, and my other old axe bike, Thorn, just crossing over the River Parrot. Now just crossing over the Bridgwater to Taunton Canal as we leave the outskirts of Bridgwater. Perfect example of why I love navigating by GPS. I just made sense to all these cycle tracks around the edge of Bridgwater that I'd have never discovered by myself. Oh, this is great, avoiding all the early morning commuter traffic. We've just come out that way onto this main road. We're heading towards Cannington, but there's even a cycle path along here. Leaving Cannington, back running alongside the A39. We've left the A39, we're heading up towards the coast, but there's a right hand turn coming up and we're going to go up there to the first church, Otterhampton, and then we'll be coming back down. Well, my GPS is saying just round this corner. There's no signposting or anything, this must be a very remote one. Oh, what's that say? Just Otterhampton, no through road. Ah, there's the church. You would definitely need some research to find this, or it'd be a chance encounter. Oh, right next to a farm. This is it, the no through road. All Saints Church, Otterhampton. Right, let's go inside. I was a bit concerned that it may be too early for it to be open, but I've just checked and it is. So this is church number 1 of today's 5, or 4.5 should I say. Gosh, very light. Gosh, well preserved stonework. Gosh, lots of wood in here. Everything's wood and stone, which has been pointed relatively recently. Oh, the roof is lime covered. That's a bell tower by the look of it. Yeah, that's one of the chords. And the font. Oh, there was something about this. I'll read out the description. There was something to do with the cover of the font. Faded brass plaque there. It says these bells were rehung and recast in 1927. Now it tells you about the Churches Conservation Trust. That font is amazing. By a rear door. Oil painting up there. Coat of arms there with some kind of Latin inscription on. Just to the left of the door, there's a plaque there paying tribute to people from the village who went off to serve in the Second World War and didn't come home alive, who gave their lives in the war. I was asked a really interesting question over the weekend, and it's one that just never occurred to me, and it's a YouTube viewer, so thank you very much. I appreciate all your comments. I don't always reply, but I always read them, and I try and put the thumbs up just to say that I have. And the question was, he said, you talk about the thankful villages where everybody returned safely from the First World War, and some of them are doubly thankful where they returned safely from the First and the Second World War. And his question was, are there any Second World War thankful villages only? And the answer is, I simply don't know. It's a great question. I'm going to try and find out. On this video, I'm going to tell you how I got the idea for this ride. It's from the Church's Conservation Trust website, but the more I noodle around on that, the more inspiration I get. I just set the tripod up and I was going to film it on that bench where there's plenty of light and no road noise. Guess what? There's no internet connection here. So one of the other churches. I was also going to look up the relevance of the cover to that font, because I'm pretty sure it's this church that it mentioned, and that does look fairly unusual. Again, I can't do it because I've got no internet access here, but I will do it later today and then edit it onto right now. From the Church's Conservation Trust website, the page about All Saints Church in Otterhampton, it says, a small and simple 14th century church sits by a farm above the Part estuary. Lovely furnishings include a Norman font with a Jacobean cover, a 16th century screen, and 17th century communion rails. This was at 7 miles. The next church we're heading for is to retrace back down that road, carry on westwards, and it's Doddington, which is also going to be All Saints Church. I'm now about 11 miles into my ride, and I've got about 3 miles to the next church, and I'm now on lovely country lanes, and you can see behind me there's the Quantocks. We're going to be crossing that shortly. If I show you a profile of the route, you'll see there's a really big spike near the beginning. That's up and down up over the Quantocks. That's quite short and sharp. Then later we go higher, but it's more gradual up onto the Exmoor plateau. Then we just skirt around a corner of that, then head down towards Taunton. Then it'll be less severe this afternoon, heading back up to Bridgwater. This is my view though, look at that. Wooded Quantock Hills over there. It's coming our way in a bit. We really are at the foot of the Quantocks now. The church, according to my reckoning, is less than a mile to go. Very wooded. At the foot of the Quantocks, that track's going straight up by the look of it, and there's Doddington, quarter of a mile down there. That's where our second church will be. Looks like this might be it here. I can see the church, no signpost though. Oh wow, look at that. It says up there, carved into the roof beams, to the glory of God and in the memory of the men of Doddington who gave their lives in the Great War, 1914 to 1918. And this is it. Welcome to Doddington, the Church's Conservation Trust, Doddington All Saints Church, open for visitors 10 AM to 4 PM in the summer and daylight hours. The church remains a consecrated building and occasional services are possible. You are welcome to view the church. I'm certainly going to take you up on that offer. Then here we are. Lovely 12th century church. Delightful. Let's have a look inside. Whitewashed. Electric light. Church's Conservation Trust donation, so I'll be leaving something there. That lovely timbered roof. Well, I've got the internet here, so I can tell you the points of interest here. Gosh, look at this. Okay, so I can tell you a little about the church. It's a Grade 1 listed church in Doddington, although it belongs to the parish of Holford in Somerset. Its origins were most likely in the 12th century, and it's adjacent to the manor of Doddington Hall.
home of relatives of William the Conqueror. The church was rebuilt and enlarged in the 15th century, and the nave remodelled in the 16th century. In the 19th century, new pews were installed. The building also serves as a memorial to Admiral Sir Edward Codrington, 1770 to 1851, commander of HMS Orion in the Battle of Trafalgar. Inside the church features a Jacobean-style altar and a wooden Victorian pulpit and a Gothic-style lectern. Oh, there we go. And a fine timbered moulded roof with traces of a medieval paint scheme. But what it doesn't say here, and what I've discovered and I absolutely love, let me show you. These instantly jumped out at me because it's got the Churches Conservation Trust logo. They're walk around guides. It tells you Doddington is a Saxon name meaning Dodo's family town. It tells you all the features about the roof. It's got diagrams. I've actually come to really like the Churches Conservation Trust logo. This is the Churches Conservation Trust website. I'll put a link to it in the description below. But if you go to visit, what I do is just go into search and just noodle about. You can search by name or by county. There's the counties. So this is Somerset. Search. And you can have them listed. I mean, right at the top, look, All Saints Church, Doddington, where we are. So if I was to click on that, it would open that page telling about the church. There's quite a few. But you can go for the period, you know, whichever century you want to go to, or several. You can go for features, say effigies or box pews or fonts. You can go for the architecture, whether you want it decorated, medieval, Gothic, Norman. Scenery, whether you want mixed, rural, urban. But what I like about this is, for me, I'm a very sort of visual person, so lists don't really mean a lot to me. If I click on map view, let's speed here. So you can see this is what jumped out at me. That was the first church. This is where we are at the foot of the Quantock. So we're going to go over there. Just south of Watchet will be the next one. And then that's where the tower is, I believe, right on the edge of Dartmoor. And then there's about 20 miles down towards Taunton. And then there's going to be that one, would be the last one today. Then I'm going to head up to the right of the A38 on minor roads back to Bridgwater. So as soon as I saw this map, it just jumped out at me straight away. Hey, I can get a train down to Bridgwater and make a day's ride out of that. Just by noodling around on the website. As I said, I get so much inspiration from it. Just leaving on my way up here. We do our ascent over the Quantocks. And our next church is at 23 miles. That's another 9 miles from here. St Martin of Tours at Elworthy. Let's get going. Starting the climb. This is so nice. It's not steep yet. The sun is really, really strong. Up through some woods, steeply tarmac road. We're entering the Quantock Hills AONB area of outstanding natural beauty. And this particular section is called Quantock Common, and it's a triple SI area, a site of special scientific interest. So lots of wildlife, flora, fauna, etc. Oh look, there's a fire risk up here as well. You can probably tell by my breath. It's starting to ascend quite steeply. Anyway, onwards.
seriously climbing now. Just looking down over the hedgerow, my left, you can see we've gained a lot of altitude. Gosh, amazing views in the gaps. Just to make out through the haze, the bay. That's the North Somerset coast, the Bristol Channel. And the power station will be right on the coast of that. And then that rig out a couple of miles to sea. Wow, beautiful day. Onwards this way anyway, then up through there. Now climbing up steeply onto the Quantocks, and there's been some hairpins with some pretty spectacular views behind me, just levelled off a little bit through this welcome shade of these woods. It's absolutely wonderful going up through this woodland. I think this is the summit, certainly opening out onto a common heathland. We're now at the summit, some welcome shade under this tree. That's really welcome shade up through there. And then there's this, well, once there's a main road, but there's a T-junction you get to, and I've just turned right. I'm heading this way towards Crocombe. There used to be a youth hostel there, but I was just looking at this sign here. It's called Dead Woman's Ditch. It tells you about the history. It says the ditch and bank running along the west side of this car park is a prehistoric, probably Iron Age, territorial boundary. And there's a reference to its name there, Dead Woman's Ditch. Although the name appears on earlier maps, Dead Woman's Ditch is often thought to be named after the notorious and gruesome murder of 1789 when John Walford slit his wife's throat and reputedly hid the body here. Oh, charming. Pony just wandering across the road. This is wonderful up on the top. Or the heather. Ponies just wandering across. Sheep there having some shade. Well, there's quite a few of them actually. Quantock ponies on this lovely sun-baked road high up on the Quantock hills. They've got these wonderful colours. Heather, ferns, the yellow. Just pulled off that road into one of these gravel car parks, get an idea of the views. Wow, look at all the ridge lines there disappearing into the distance. You can just see the sea through there. It's very, very hazy. That would be South Wales on the other side of the channel. But the horses are very people friendly. Seem to be gathering shade there from that car. But they're not averse to just walking straight across the road, a bit like the New Forest. I think they have right of way. Cars must stop for them. I've just crossed the cattle grid, started to drop very steeply, and to confirm that, there's a 25% gradient sign. It advises low gear now. There's also a escape lane ahead. That's where we're going. Look at that view. Blimey, it feels like the bike's running away with me. Or 25% coming up. One scary descent. Wow. Back down to civilization. It's mid-morning now and this route is absolutely fantastic. I'm just dropping down through this steeply wooded valley. In fact, that bridge back there, I've just crossed over the West Somerset Railway. Once I got the map up of Somerset, as soon as I see a map I can sort of get a mental picture of, oh, there's an idea there. And there was this cluster of 6. I was going to go for 6, but that would have made the day very long and I don't want the time pressure, so I've stuck to 5. And then all I did was trace the location from Bridgwater station and then just put a waypoint at each church and then back towards the station at Bridgwater, and just let the ride with GPS platform, the mapping platform, do the rest. Because I look at it this way, you're tapping into generations of local cycling experience, because I think these routes are constructed by popularity, so that's where all the locals go, and they've probably picked it up from their parents, their grandparents, etc. It's gone down through the generations, and now just anybody can tap into that information, and that's what I do. Going back into Bridgwater, I did have to tweak it slightly because it tried to send me up the A38, so I've just gone to the left of it. I'm going to be on the part of the Taunton Bridgwater Canal, I think, just to avoid the main road. But apart from that, yeah, the computer did everything for me, really. The idea, the inspiration, and the constructing the route. Just coming into the village of our third church. Just turn off this little track. I'm guessing this is taking us up to the church. Look at this. Oh wow. Wow. And that's where we go afterwards. I think the heat must have got to me at this stage because I'd forgot to switch my microphone on for several clips. So at this church, I'm going to read directly from the church's Conservation Trust website. Church of St Martin of Tours, Elworthy, Somerset. Tucked into the hillside above the road, this 13th century church has a distinctive battlemented tower with an unusual outside stairway. Inside there is medieval and Jacobean woodwork which was delicately restored in the 19th century, including a screen across the chancel arch with the inscription, "O Lord, prepare our hearts to pray." A little window near the watchet alabaster font contains two charming 15th century stained glass figures of saints. On each of the church pages, when you go for more information, there's a tab saying history and further information, and quite often you can download a PDF document there telling you much more about the church. Again, just another fantastic resource of this, what's becoming one of my favourite websites. I'm now at the third of today's 5 churches. This is St Martin of Tours, Elworthy, and it's quite well known for its unusual outside staircase to the bell tower. There's lots of interesting features inside. Most of all for me, it's very, very cool in there. It's got very, very hot. And then I started seeing signs for Rallycross, and I thought, oh no, that sends shivers up my spine, because in effect you come down a V, you have to stop at the bottom because you cross the main road which has right of way, and then you start from scratch, have a long climb up onto the Exmoor's plateau escarpment, and which is what, about 1,300 feet. And I thought, oh thank goodness I'm not going up there. I turned off right, and then I've come up this church and just checking the GPS when I leave, I'm actually going to be going up parallel to that road, but on what looks like not much more than a farm track. So I'm just kind of sort of mentally preparing myself for what's to come. Leaving the church at Elworthy, it was a very steep climb up, about a mile or so, on a gravelly track, and that joined the Rallycross road at 90 degrees, which I turned right onto. That was the road that I thought I was actually going to be avoiding, and I was very hot and getting short of water by the time I eventually got up under Exmoor. So I pulled into the Rallycross Inn for a pint of lemonade and lime with plenty of ice in, and the barman filled up my water bottles, and I just sat outside in a bit of shade recharging devices. About a mile after leaving the Rallycross Inn, I turned off that main road onto a minor road, and then I turned off that minor road onto a gravel track, and I was heading towards the 4th church, the half church, the ruin, St James Tower at Upton. I was beginning to think I may have missed it, and I passed Wimble Lake, which looked fantastic from above, and then I eventually came to the end of that track, and that's where St James Tower is. I've just emerged from that rocky path I suppose it's about 3/4 of a mile, and then you join this, like a T-junction. It says permitted footpath that way, no cycling, horses, private access only. This way says cycle path. Here's the tower. I was just beginning to think I may have missed it because I knew it was a ruin, and I was so concentrated on staying upright along there. Every time there was a gap in the hedge I'd have a look, but I didn't really know what I was looking for. So I'd have felt a bit stupid if I'd missed this. It does say you can't go in, so let's just walk over and have a look from the outside. Once again then you can see the sheep gathering in groups in the shade. The outline of what would have been the church. Let's go and see if we can get through that gap in the wall there. You can see there's a ladder going up there for access, but the public don't have any access. St James Tower, Upton, Somerset. From the Church's Conservation Trust website, it says, just a tower remaining. The tower is all that remains of this 14th century church in Exmoor National Park at the end of a long lane. The body of the old church was pulled down after 1861 when a new church was built, leaving a striking local landmark. There is no public access to the interior of the tower. I just know deep down this is going to be one of the memorable parts of the ride. I was a bit mentally frazzled coming along there for a few sort of reasons really. I did bring a power pack, but I've depleted it by topping up my action camera battery. I suddenly realised my phone's down to about 24%, so I've got to turn that off because my train ticket home is on now. I can't afford to lose that. But just the location as well, and the embarrassment of thinking I may have missed it. You know, hey, at the beginning of the video, 5 churches today, but I only managed to find 4 of them. One of them was only a half of a church. And also the time really, I'm okay, but I've got 5 hours to get my train home. I'm getting a 20 to 8 train, which will be in the daylight, but the last of it, by the time I get back to my home at Oldfield Park in Bath, gets in at 9:05, it'll be dark by then. I also know I'm only just over halfway, but I'm sort of okay with that because I know the really big climbs are out the way. And now there's a 22-mile leg where I don't really need to stop. I just need to plod on to the final church just south of Taunton, and then it's just a short jaunt up to Bridgwater. Even though I'm just over halfway distance-wise, I'm well over half the time I allowed myself for this ride, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to recoup a lot in the next few hours. As I said, 22 miles to the next one. I must be coming down past the pheasant farm because there's loads running out in front of me. Just coming down this massively long wooded descent. Pheasants everywhere, taking a lot of care not to catch any. It just keeps going down and down and down. Now we're going to go for a ford. Can I get through there? Oh, there's a bridge, yeah. This wooded road, it's going through a ford. I've opted for the bridge, the walkway, but it looks like it's going straight back up again. That just seemed to go on forever and ever. So many pheasants down there as well. It says there, beware, pheasants on the road, please drive slowly. That is a long slog up there. It's now 6:15 and this afternoon's been really hard. I'll explain more when I get to Bridgwater station. Probably going to amend my plans slightly because I really don't want to rush this church. I'm at the last church at Thoroughbare, so just about to go in if it's still open. Let's have a look. Yes. Oh, shade. Font right inside the door. Quite dark and cool. Sudden drop in temperature. Lovely stained glass window. There's the visitor's book there. So this is St Thomas's Church, Thoroughbare, Somerset. From the Church's Conservation Trust website again. St Thomas's Church, Thoroughbare, Somerset.
the overview says, dramatic tower gargoyles. A 12th century church with 2 exceptional honey-coloured Norman arcades in the nave with delicately carved capitals. The splendid 15th century tower is adorned with dramatic gargoyles, and there is a complete ring of 4 15th century bells from the Exeter foundry. If I give you a video of me, you'll probably tell how hot and sweaty I am. It's really hard work. Gosh, I look like an alien. I do not want to rush this church. What I am going to do is slightly do a faster route back up to Bridgwater. Just very, very fast up to Bridgwater. In fact, I got in with half an hour to spare. Saw a fish and chip shop. So I got here with about 11 minutes to spare. I've got some sausage and chips to eat. Got 2 bottles of drink for the train. I'm now in Bristol Templemead station, having travelled up from Bridgwater. There's only the one stop, Bridgwater straight to here. I've got about 40 minutes to wait for my train to Oldfield Park, and then I should be home soon after 9. So it's getting dark, it's dusky, but you can feel the warm air. Really, it feels like a really hot summer's evening. Quite looking forward to getting home now and diving in the shower. It's been a great day, but this afternoon was so hard. As I came into the outskirts of Taunton, I stopped at a co-op and things just started going a bit crazy there. I went to use the self-service checkout and I couldn't see where the scanner was. It's sort of like in a totally different place. I don't like self-service anyway, because I would prefer either visual or audio, not both. You're trying to sort of see what you're doing. There's this voice coming out prompting you. Cash machines aren't like that, are they? So anyway, I got a bit flustered with that, and this woman said to me, "You okay?" And I just said, "No, I got to the checkout and I said, I can't see where it says pay cash." They said, "Oh, it doesn't take cash." And I just thought, well, that's right, I just cancelled it and joined the queue. So yeah, there was that, and then I came straight out of there, making good time, and then my route just sent me all through these fields, over a railway bridge. Oh, I'm sure all it did was save about half a mile of main road, but I had to follow the Garmin because my 5th village was coming up with the church, so I didn't want to miss it. Otherwise I'd have just main roaded it into Taunton, so that just cost me so much time. And then I came into Taunton at rush hour, so stop, start. By the time I got to the church, I thought, I just don't want to rush the church, so what I'll do is I'll speed the journey up. But when you're tired and a bit dehydrated, I think even the most basic things such hard work. I always laugh at it, I'm not going to get bad tempered. Okay, so I'm going to finish the video off here. I hope you've enjoyed coming along with this one. My next video, I'm hoping we'll have a Lord of the Rings theme, so if you're interested in that, join me next time. Look out for each other, everybody. See you next time.